Berat gila tu.
Let's kick this episode off. Welcome to Competitive Powerlifting. Welcome back to the BGD podcast. Right? Nice to see you guys all here again. And today we'll be picking up from where we left off in episode 5, where we talked about all the different federations that are around. Sure, I think there was some tea in there, wasn't there? But
Of course,
you know,
yes.
it's up to you to explore. We've kind of, it's there. Sabati. Speaking of which, I just went to Cameron Highlands on Friday, and it was crazy. I had to drive back home in the dark. It was kind of insane.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Do you plug the tea leaves?
No, I didn't. It's crazy because I literally went up in the evening. I wasted it was a waste of a trip, right? So I went to Cameron Highland, had dinner, and came back down. Yeah, it was because it was an unplanned trip, right? It was unplanned, right?
You live on the high life in it.
Yeah. I mean, we were exploring food everywhere else, but Cameron Highland was on the itinerary, and it was at the end of the day we're why not just go grab some dinner there? I was like, I'm driving, sure, why not? I didn't know it was gonna be 55 kilometers of windy ass road. So yeah, that was so it was crazy. I was kind of scared. But yeah. Okay, competitive powerlifting. Let's come back to this whole thing. How do you even get up into Cameron Highlands? But yeah. Okay, competitive powerlifting, right? So, well, if you're here, that means that you have heard of powerlifting and you've thought about competing. So what should our viewers know first, right? What should you guys know? What you see a lot of, I guess, is... Well, let's start with something that everyone uses, I think, powerlifting gear, right? If you go to a powerlifting meet, you definitely see people with knee sleeves or wraps or belts,
expensive deadlift socks.
Expensive. Color coordinated as well. That's very important. It's gotta be color coordinated. Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Harry can speak for himself. He wants pink shirt, t-shirt with his pink feathers. So, other than that, I think equipments that are, I guess, that makes you a fool on competitive powerlifter is what we're gonna talk today.
Yeah. I guess it's also important to keep in mind, what we're talking about is raw powerlifting, right? It's not it's not classic powerlifting. Classic powerlifting is where you've got layers of stiff material wrapped around you, suits, right? That you put on, and they kind of support a lot of the weight. And it's mostly about learning how to use the suit. I mean, you still gotta be strong, but we're talking about raw powerlifting, where it's I think, which is the reason why powerlifting's gotten so big, right? It's everyone can powerlift now because all you need is sleeves, or you don't even need anything, or you just if you want to compete, sleeveless category in some federations, but yeah, you just need sleeves. Pair of shoes. Oh, shoes! Don't forget about shoes. We need shoes to compete as well, right? So, right. I guess the first thing that I think our new viewers would be thinking about is what is their purpose, right? Why are these guys kitted out in all sorts of weird stuff? It's like a kink.
I think I can start with the question that I always get is that if I were to start investing in gears, what is the first thing I should get? So, and I would always, though I also want to say get the knee sleeves because it helps. But the only one time that you use among all the lifts is in your squat. You don't really use them in other lifts. So by that virtue, it's probably not the first thing you should get. The first thing I would recommend any new lifter who wants to get into competitive lifting is get a good belt. Invest in a good belt, and a belt that would last you long, gives you the right support. So a lot of powerlifters, raw powerlifters, if you go on Instagram or YouTube, they would have the lever belt, the SBD lever belt, which is very thick, 13 millimeters in thickness. It's leather. If you convert that in ringgit, it's around 1,000 ringgit. It's not a cheap purchase. It's quite expensive, and you have to get it from international sites. They ship from the UK, And in Malaysia, there are people who usually open orders and they ship together. They buy in bulk, which is nice. But there's also other options that you can get. There's the lever belt. The prong belt.
I think that's a classic, right?
Yeah, I personally use a double prong belt.
Double prong? Sacrilegious?
Hey, you know what I'm saying. I use the double prong. Double prong quick release, they call it. So it's kind of like the lever belt, but a bit more OG and classic.
Wait, what? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not so advanced, I guess.
Well, if you want to talk about the OG, the true OG, it's that single prong.
Single prong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't like that because it takes so much effort to put it on and take it off.
Is it?
Yeah, so it.
The double prong?
What about a double prong? You got the same problem with the double prong too.
Is the double prong more like troublesome to put on and off?
The one that I use, because the one that I use is not really like a flexible prong. It's like a I don't know how to do it, but it's like that.
It's like a pseudo double prong. It's actually one prong.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you need to release it, it's like a flick of the flick of the wrist, you know.
Yeah. How do you get tight though? Like I feel like with double prong belts, like it's really hard to like.
It takes some finessing and skill to be able to do it on the daily and on the regular. But I think in general, the reason why I choose that belt in particular over, say, the famous SBDs or other belts is because I think a lot of women can relate, or like people who aren't as big can relate. SBD can collapse them a bit more, like it crushes their rib cage and it's hard to break it in. So prong is the next best option that you have. So it hugs you just nice. It's not, it doesn't choke you.
Is that because of the lever or the thickness of the belt?
Both, I think, because the lever is quite stiff, so it doesn't have a lot of give.
That's true. It is very stiff.
So you're literally locked in one position, and if that's not like almost a perfect shape for you, and you're not comfortable, then it'll take a while for you to get used to. So for me, a while is years. So it's just not for me.
Nah.
Yeah, but also another thing to consider for belts. Again, back to the topic of federation. There are federations who insist on several brands to, that you can only use. So that's something to consider if you compete in IPF. Then get a belt that's IPF approved. They are available literally everywhere online. Though they're on the expensive side, but I think most of them are quite good quality. However, if you're not looking to get into those prestige federation, there's the new local one. I personally won one earlier this year. It's Atlas belt. I think it's a Malaysian brand. They range cheaper than most IPF approved, and they equally give you the right amount of support. And they're pretty dope. You can customize your name at the back, so you kind of walk into the platform with your name at the back. So you kind of like a wrestler or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you? Like, what would you guys recommend a new lifter to get? Other than
I definitely recommend a belt. Like I think, so just because with a belt, I think you get to use them for all lifts. Like even with a bench as well. Like it's a bit more. This is a bit more of a complex concept, but like with bench, I think you can definitely feel it with it helps my arch a bit, at least personally, and I think with a few people that I know who bench with a belt, like it's shown they kind of like it. The belt's definitely the first thing that I would recommend anyone to get, like if you don't already have shoes for the gym. But yeah, that's shoes a whole other sort of topic to talk about. Well, like with belts, I think with Zati talking about the two prongs kind of makes me want to talk about the old-fashioned single prong. And I guess I'll talk a bit more about the thicknesses, because I think that's very important, like the thickness of the belt, right? Like, so when I started out powerlifting, like I got this like Titan Brahma, right? And I was like, when I was thinking, before I got the belt, I was thinking, okay, what do I want this belt to do, right? Like I want it to support my core, I want it to be like thick, right? And so then they had this option of 10 or 13 millimeters, right? And back then I was like, fuck it. Why would I go for 10? That's pussy size.
the
That's
way,
pussy.
baby.
Yeah, all the way. If I'm gonna get something thick, I'm getting like the biggest, thickest thing, right?
Like the true man would do, like 30
Yeah, you know,
mm,
like
that's it.
13 mm. Yeah, you know, after watching all the videos, I'm like, oh shit, you get a 10 belt or 13 belt on YouTube, you know, like Omar Esoff, and it's just like, Alan Thrall, you know, those sort of YouTube channels, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a 13. I'm gonna get I think I got an L, because back then I was like a skinny boy. I was like 93 or 95, and then. So it cost me like I think 600 or 700 ringgit because it was shipped from the US, and it was like a huge fucking purchase at the time as well. Like it was the most expensive thing I ever gotten for powerlifting. Right, so it took like 2 months to get here, and when it got here, I was like, holy shit, it's here. It's so freaking heavy. Number one, number two, it's so freaking stiff. Right, and I was like, okay, let's try to get used to it. First time I tried to use the belt, Jesus Christ, like it was like I couldn't. It felt so restrictive, like because it was so stiff, and it was so much effort to get it tight as well because it doesn't really bend.
What
Yeah.
do you do to get it like?
So like
into your speed?
I think I just kind of like started rolling it out, like rolling it really
Yeah,
tightly,
yeah.
like looking at tips online and just like kind of just using it over time. I think in 3 months it was like a lot better. But if I were to recommend a belt to someone who's starting at powerlifting now, I would recommend a 10 belt because a 13 belt it's very unique in a sense that like you do get like a extra support, but at the cost of being flexible in the core, like Zati is saying before, like especially with smaller lifters, because it just becomes this sort of piece of leather that doesn't budge, right? It doesn't really conform to you. It's just like there, right? And so definitely a 10 would be a lot easier to break in. Number one, it'd be a lot more comfortable, and a lot easier to manipulate, and just overall like it's more functional, I think, compared to a 13 belt. Like, so definitely a 10 belt. Like as to lever or prong, like this is really a preference. Like,
For sure.
yeah, like I think when I started out, I started with a prong, and I think right now I really appreciate the lever just because I don't have to like yank the belt like super tight. Like I don't like I literally like I can tell you my lats grew because I've put so much, like my left lat is bigger than my right lat, right? Because I've used this arm so much more in trying to pull the belt tight. Yeah, and it's just become something normal now. If I try to do it the other way, like my right arm's just like, wow, there's no power there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so lever belts they do have that advantage. Like I think it's more of it's a consistent, like it's very consistent. I think compared to a prong belt. Is it though? Actually, no. With the prong belt, you do get the consistent sizing as well. It's the same thing. I lied. Lever belts and prong belts are consistent, but you know the pioneer belt. That's what's that's the drip.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Only one. I think only
Is it
one.
the A7
only
one?
With A7, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the A7 one. Yeah. Yeah. I pretty much mostly agree with you guys. For beginners, I would actually recommend getting a prong, probably a single prong. Just because, like Zati said, you don't know if I could be wrong, but I think the material on any lever belt versus any prong belt, the lever is usually a bit more stiff. So yeah, it's a bit more stiff. So even if it's the same thickness, I think the design of the lever tends to be a bit more stiff compared to the prong. I could be wrong, but I because I've tried my hands on a few. So to be safe, just go with the prong, and the prong also gives you more flexibility, especially when you're just starting out. You don't know what kind of weight you're gonna end up being, right? Your body weight.
Yeah.
So if you're using the lever belt, then you're always gonna have to adjust the belt, unscrew the lever and screw it back. It can become a bit annoying. And also people sometimes they prefer to have different tightness on the squat and the deadlift. So if you just get a prong belt, you can have it tighter on the squat and then have it one notch looser on the deadlift. But if you use the lever belt, then you're gonna have to bring a screwdriver around in the gym, which can be a bit of a hassle. So
Unless you
And
get
then
The SBD lever belt.
yeah. So if you're just starting out, you can get like a cheap prong belt, and then maybe after a few years or months, you feel like you really want to get committed to the sport. Then I would recommend just straight like upgrading yourself to the SBD adjustable lever is what it's called. So it has the features of a prong, the flexibility of adjusting the size like a prong, but you secure it like a lever, which is very convenient.
Yeah, it is very convenient.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to. I don't recommend investing in the belt like straight out of the bat, just because you might be one of those people who find the belt a bit too restrictive. If you have, especially have like short torso and that kind of stuff.
I think even like experienced lifters that I know who has who has been training a number of years, it takes them so long to acclimatize to the thickness of a lever. So like I agree with Harry said, like just try it out first, and with prongs, I think it's the most accessible and most available as well. And lever tend to market specialized to, I guess, powerlifting. I don't know any other sports that have used a lever stiff belt as you see in powerlifting.
Yeah. So you can even get like a Velcro belt, which is a lot cheaper, but it's not as supportive, but it gives you an idea of what the belt's supposed to help you with.
Yeah.
I think this is a tip just for like bigger guys as well. Like, I mean, I'm pretty big. Like, I'm sitting at 128 now. So like, I think for lever belts, like it's very hard to deadlift in. I think if any big listeners here, it's very painful and very hard to deadlift in. So I personally deadlift in a prong belt because just I cannot get in position to get the bar, and it just throws me off balance. Like, so that's something to consider as well if you're someone who has like a midsection that's a bit prominent, you know, like I like how I just finessed that. A bit of a prominent midsection. You might want to consider just getting a if you're limiting yourself to one belt, definitely a prong belt would be like the way to go. Like, I think it's just multi-purpose. And also, like, I think we can all agree, like, if you're a competitive powerlifter, like, you don't only buy one belt for your whole life. Does any of you only have one belt?
For now, I mean,
Zati's
I
muted.
currently only use one belt.
Hang on, Zati's a bit muted. Is Zati muted?
Oh yeah, she is.
Can you?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you guys only have one belt? That's my question.
At the moment, I'm only currently using one, but I think I've had maybe three in my lifetime. So like 2 belts prior to the one that I'm using now, which is the SBD adjustable lever belt. And I'm considering getting a prong belt because of the bit you said about the deadlift. But I don't know if it's worth investing like maybe 800 ringgit just for like a very very minute advantage, very small advantage. I can't rationalize it right now, but who knows if I.
It does.
I mean, it might feel better, but it might not really add much, which in the end it'll be kind of a waste, lah. So, yeah. So I'm only using one at the moment.
What about Zati?
Started with a lever belt, but not the 13 millimeters, the 10 millimeters.
Was it an Inza one?
No, I actually bought a very cheap one, which is Strength Shop.
Right.
Yeah, so at the time, because I was still a student, so I wasn't really for sure I wanted to do powerlifting full time. I was just trying to start. Sorry. Okay, let's take way back, right? I started with, one of those Olympic weightlifting skinny belt.
Oh, yeah.
It's strong.
Gripped one, it's like really small.
Yeah.
Yep.
You would see like Olympic weightlifters do.
It's like narrower in the front and thicker at the back, like that. So those sort of belts.
It's like tapered kind of belt.
Yeah. So being the newbie me then, I went on Amazon. I literally googled weightlifting belt. So and then the first to pop up was like, oh, all right, it wasn't expensive. I was like, okay, I guess I spent like, I don't know, was it 20 quid, 20 pounds? Sure, spend it on it. And then it got me a while. I wasn't even doing powerlifting. I was squatting for sure and deadlifting. I wasn't benching at all. But that belt is sufficient enough for me to teach me how to brace, I think. It has a bit more flexibility because it's not thick, right? So like a powerlifting belt, the thick, I don't mean width, but the length, I'm trying to be correct here. I think it's called length.
think it's
Sorry,
the
the width.
diameter.
The width.
The width of the belt, yeah.
So the width of the belt that I used initially, the weightlifting one is, it's enough. It gives you the flexibility, so it's enough for, I guess, a newbie to start, but not specific in powerlifting. It's just to teach you how to brace and how to move, I guess. So I would imagine, the lever belt would be a bit too advanced if you've never used a belt in your life.
That's true.
And then I decided to do powerlifting, and I needed a new belt to compete in. And at the time, I was competing. I signed up for the British University competition. So because that is an IPF approved, I needed to get the cheapest IPF belt that is. So at the time, it was only Strength Shop, and I thought, lever belt was fancy. I didn't even give it so much thought. I was like, it's kind of fancy. So I got that. That took me a while. And I used that for a while. Even when I'm back in Malaysia, I was still using it for a while. Until I think, and then I tried SBD for a while as well. I tried other people's belt. And what I find is that, because both of them are lever, the Strength Shop's lever, because it's a bit more skinny and smaller, I don't have that problem of, the lever hitting my my thigh.
Yeah, it's a pretty small lever, like relative to the belt. Like it's just like that strip in the middle.
Yeah, it's a bit thin. However, it doesn't give you that very firm support that SBD would get.
It's not leather, right? It's like poly. It's like some kind of
yeah, it's
compound.
not leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
So and then after that, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to make an investment, but SBD wasn't quite there for me. It didn't, it didn't bought me over, because I did try different sizing. So I actually tried Haris's one as well, which is a slightly size bigger, and I tried one of our friends as well, Nick's, which is an S. It's like, it's okay, but it doesn't really give me that. Yeah, you need to give this a try. And then not only after that, my friend lent me her belt, which is the same exact one that I have at the moment, which is a Titan full-born or something. Full-born?
Longhorn, something.
Longhorn.
Full-born.
Full-born
cow.
Full-born is like a train station. Okay, anyway. So I have the Titan Longhorn belt, and that is so far the best for me, because it's not too tight, but it gives you the space to, if you want to take it up a notch, right? For squat, you want to have it a bit tighter. Then you can rail the tongue of the belt against a rag, and then yank yourself in. Or
life hack.
Yeah, life hack. Or if you want to have it a bit looser for deadlift, like you guys mentioned before, then you don't have to, yank yourself that deep in. All in all, I think it's a very affordable belt. It cost me 600 ringgit, I think.
Which one is this? Is the Longhorn, right?
Yeah, it cost me around 600 ringgit. It's leather. It's suede as well. It's leather suede.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that hard to take.
Yeah, it's like a slightly like furry material, right? Like the sweet, yeah.
I mean, aesthetic is there. I like blue, so I like the royal blue that it is. So I think in that sense, it's functional, but also if you care of how you look, then go for it. It has colors and whatnot. Because let's not pretend we don't care about that. We do. Some people do really care about it. If you like black, SBD has that really nice, finish.
Yeah.
If you don't care about that, then go ahead. Pick other brands. They're equally nice and functional. So yeah, that's me, I guess.
Yeah, I think with belts, like, yeah, there's just so many to pick from. But like, what we can say for sure, like, is Titans definitely put out some good stuff. Like, we're talking about belts for life. Titan is definitely one of them. Inza, I think it's a bit of a home brand. Like it's very old. Like it's probably one of the first powerlifting brands to come up. SBD, if you've got the bling, and you're like, I'll suffer for a bit and then get this belt, used to it.
You have
That's
Pioneer
SBD.
as well.
Yeah, Pioneer. These are the new world belts. If you talk about like old world and new world, like Pioneer is like new as well. Like it's a bit more adjustable as well. They got like staggered holes.
There's a Swedish.
I think A7 has a belt too, right?
Yeah,
I think
A7.
A7
They've got a
has
lever and a Pioneer
has
belt
a
as well.
belt.
Yeah, yeah. But we're talking about like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the quality of A7 belts though. Like, that's
Oh,
yeah.
true, yeah.
So
There's
but
another prong belt, though this is on the expensive side. I guess in terms of pricing, it's equivalent to an SBD tier. It's called Wallander. I think it's Swiss made.
Yeah, yeah.
That is, if I have the money, that will be.
Is that leather as well?
It's leather. It's the same technology, the double prong quick release, and
Quick release, yeah.
And yeah, I know not a lot of people use it because probably it's not as famous as, it is not as famous as the Titan or SBD brands, but I've tried it before from a friend's, and man, if I had the money, that stuff would be mine.
Wallander belt.
Yeah.
But actually, right?
I've never seen it before.
If you compare, I think an Inzer prong is about like close to 800 ringgit. SBD is, you can get for 900, like mid 900s. So it's not like a crazy difference if you go from Inzer prong to SBD. Even the Titan, I think Titan in Malaysia is what, 800, is it?
I got is 600.
Yours is 6, so about 300-400 difference but yours is probably like the lowest tier, is it?
I guess for that technology, the double prong quick release, I think mine is the bottom end range. You can go as high up to 1,000 ringgit, which is the Wallander. I think Eleiko is as well Eleiko is
around 900, I think.
Yeah, Eleiko is around mid, but I'm not sure. Sorry,
did you even make
whoever listening this, but like I don't think the Eleiko double prong is at par to say Wallander. Wallander is like,
do they even make their own belts? I'm pretty sure they just get someone to make
so.
it and like just like stamp their name on it, right? Like that's what A7 does. That's what A7 does as well, and all the new world brands do. So don't add us. But yeah, so like these are like the reliable brands, that
you can seek out.
Yeah, then they'll last you a lifetime. And if you're not sure about getting to competitive powerlifting, there are options as well. There are alternatives. You got like your Strength Shop. You've got what other brands? I can only think of Strength Shop. Why can I only think of Strength Shop? I think they're the only one, right? It's the biggest one.
Just
in Malaysia.
IPF.
Yeah, I guess like IPF
in
approved.
Malaysia,
yeah.
If it's
Then
IPF approved.
Actually,
in Malaysia, probably just a shop.
Yeah, actually, if you're proactive, you can go on Mark Bell's. So this is not exhaustively IPF approved. They sell an array of gears. Quality-wise, I cannot vouch for all. I only have one of their product. But what I can say is they offer free shipping from the States sometimes on certain dates or certain sales, which I think is a good option that you can seek out. So I think with equipment, my advice is do not rush into it. If you have friends or you know anyone that has it, more often than not, they are willing to give you a try and test it out. That's what I did before I jumped in. And because I definitely understand, I can relate, it's a lot to spend on a gear if you're just starting out and you realize, oh my god, I've spent so much money on just gears. I haven't spent on coaching services, or I haven't spent on gym membership and whatnot. So the tip is find a friend or find anyone at the gym that you see potentially be a powerlifter. Hit them up. Yo, can I ask you a question? Yeah, like I think that's the easiest way to start if you want to find out what you should get and whatnot. But can we talk a bit more about like what other, like, I guess, what are the gears that other than I guess we comprehensively explained.
Yeah, belts. That was a long segment on belts. Let's talk about. We're not even done with all the equipment you can use on the platform. Damn.
Right.
All right.
Give the other one some love, huh?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the belt, I guess, number one is the biggest investment that you probably have to make. The next on the list,
Should we
I
start
would-
from top down, or how should we go about this?